Hi. I'm going to talk about the question, what would be if the European Open Science Cloud would run on libp2p? And that's a vision talk, so the European Science Cloud actually does not run on libp2p. I will first explain what the European Open Science Cloud is. So the aim of the European Open Science Cloud is to create a web of fair data and services for research in Europe, with the goal to improve the situation for researchers across Europe. And it's a quite large project. It started 2015, and that was when the first idea was developed, and then there was a prototyping phase, which was funded by with 250 million euros from the European Commission, and now there's the next phase from until 2030, where there's a public-private partnership with a total investment of 1 billion euro, and this is to build this European Open Science Cloud. There are a lot of people involved and a lot of countries involved from Europe, but also observers from not within Europe. So what are the goals of the European Open Science Cloud? The goals are that there's relevant research data with rich metadata available to all researchers, that we have a repository and we have access and reusable research software. Of course, there needs to be storage for research data. We need to have compute power, access control, search capabilities, and something like automated referencing and much more, what researchers need to work in a digital laboratory all across Europe. So this has been worked out in details in the strategic research and innovation agenda. So it's not a top-down approach that the European Commission says we will build the European Open Science Cloud according to what we think is best. So there has been an inclusive process to get information from all the researchers across Europe what they want and what the goals should be. And yeah, there's now the implementation phase, which is precised in a multi-annual roadmap. So, and we are currently in the phase of developing an infrastructure for federated research infrastructure. Yeah, and then starting from 2023, this research infrastructure should be productive, and we want to generate added value. And then from 2020-25, there's the idea for an expansion to develop impact from open science to the overall community. So this is the plan for the European Open Science Cloud. So what is the situation today? What do you think? Where do researchers store their data? Do researchers in particular store their data on IPFS? So to answer this question, the European Commission made a survey in 2022, and they asked more than 10,000 researchers, and 60% store their research data on personal physical data storage, which was the largest group, and IPFS wasn't even an option in this survey. So it is not that prevalent, I guess. So coming to the next questions, do researchers use content hashes to link their research artifacts? So you would probably guess that's not the case, but at least there is one initiative that uses also the concept of content hashing, and that is software heritage. So their aim is to preserve the source code of research software, and they thought for quite a long while how to preserve all the source code which was produced by researchers to support their research results. And they figured out that a hash or an intrinsic identifier is best to address versions of research software. So they use this hash, which you get from the software source code, to directly address the research software, and so they have a long-term preservation idea and use those hashes to store the research software for the long term. And when you, for example, use the research software in a paper, you can cite this hash, and then you will get to that version of the research software forever. And currently they do it with local storage, and they have UNESCO funding, which is the best guarantee you can currently get that this research software will stay online in the future. Yeah, when I saw that, I think I was thinking that would be a good match to libp2p and the IPFS world, and I thought, what can I do about that? And yeah, eventually I'm working together with Software Heritage as part of the SRIA Core for EOS project. That is one of those many projects that are funded by the European Commission to roll out the European Open Science Cloud. And we are doing a first experiment. So, for example, there's a software heritage mirror, so that there are at least 2 institutions that store the source code of the research software, and we link this this content hashes we also use in other institutes, especially in my institute, which is about mathematical research and mathematical research objects and mathematical research publications. So we now also use this content hashes to have this reliable link, and I've established a small research group on decentralized open science, and there we are trying to look how to make more use of content hashes, and maybe also how our centralized infrastructure can be decentralized in the future. So what are the expectations to the European Open Science Cloud in combination with libp2p? So at least we have discussed what is how this, for example, that research software could also be stored on IPFS, and we could this compute infrastructure, which is currently quite has a huge management overhead. So if you want to apply for compute resources, you have to talk to your admin, and you have to fill out a form, and you have to wait forever and do a lot of paperwork. But you could use crypto incentive mechanisms to simplify this procedure. And of course, there's also when you were in the other talks of the conferences, you see that there's approaches that are decentralized approaches. These questions which are the expectations of the European Open Science Cloud, so that you can participate in the European Open Science Cloud, even if you are not a big research institute or a country that says it wants to participate. So we would somehow contribute to the democratization of the European Open Science Cloud. Yeah, my vision for the future is to roll out decentralized services and to test and to research and to experiment if our services that currently run centralized from centralized systems would also run at least for testing in a decentralized environment. Yeah, so for that, I mean, to the end user, the goal is however, that they should act like on a central like today with a centralized server, but without the dependency on a particular service provider. So so my institute is quite old. So we have a long history, and for example, in the Second World War, when it's a German institute, it was a little bit fishy that all these mathematical publications were reviewed and organized by the Germans. So the American Mathematical Society decided to create a second institute. Now we have at least 2 institutes that do the same thing, but it was the same idea to avoid this central service provider. So that's one big advantage we see, and when we look also at the situation with Russia today, it is always good to not depend on one particular service provider. We want to separate the service and the application layer, that we use only some crypto value to exchange that, and we also want to allow for optimized executions, which you cannot do if you have a centralized server that well. Yeah, so in the end, I want to decentralize my services and yeah, test approaches, which, for example, can we add IPFS as IPFS storage as one options in the idea of the European Science Cloud multi-cloud project, so that we have IPFS as one storage option, so that people can transition seamlessly from the current infrastructure to the decentralized infrastructure. The same is for software heritage mirror with libIPFS technology, and also we want to limit or understand and experience where we hit the limits of current decentralized technology. So let me end here, and since this is a really new vision, I just wanted to ask, what do you think? Is it a match? Now swipe left or right. Thank you.
Give him a hand, everybody.